Good morning. My name is Ron Simpson. I'd like to tell you my story. In 2005, I went to New York City for a meeting at the Brooklyn Tabernacle Church. And I left my folder in the cab driver's cab. He was an African man. I got back to the hotel that night and I asked the ladies if I had any calls. They said, "You do." And so I went to a phone booth. That's the days before cell phones really were prominent. And he said, "Simpson, Ronson Simpson, you left your phone in my cab today. How can I get to you?" And I said, "I don't know." He said, "When are you leaving New York?" I said, "On Monday." He said, "I will get your folder back to me." And I went to bed, and at 3:30 that morning, the Lord woke me up praying for an African cab driver. And God dealt with me for 2 hours over his soul. But not only that, but God had a plan for me to do missions work I did not know about. A year later, I woke up one morning and said, "I want to go to Africa." God led me to a missions conference. I went on a couple of trips. And in 2009, I adopted a people group called the Girawa People Group. And God did many, many miracles through our evangelism with my evangelist. And today we can say that there's probably 8,000 or more believers in Bauchi State, Nigeria, because the gospel was proclaimed to them. And so many, many miracles were done. We would pray for people. A lady had AIDS. We prayed for her, and she went to the doctor a month later and said, "You don't have AIDS anymore." I said, "What happened?" A white man prayed for me, and so God healed her. I could tell you many other miracles because God is a miracle-working God. And so, but we did that. I did that for about 6 years among the Girawa people. And God had me to change my mission field. Adopted people because the Bolawa, very resistant to the gospel. But God had me meet a person in in the passport control line in Nigeria. He said, "You might want to help us." So he gave me his card, and I looked it up, and they said that their orphanage was really struggling. They needed help financially because at that time, Boko Haram was killing many, many thousands of people. At one time, they killed about 20,000 people, and people were fleeing from the north to the south. So I contacted Sam and Marilyn Akaka, and they needed $150,000 to keep having the orphanage. They had over 200 kids at that time. So I prayed about it, and God told me to sell stock in my company and give them $75,000, and then asked for additional time to pay the other $75,000. I did that, and so since 2016, we have many, many hundreds of kids that have a safe place to live away from the terrorists. And we also do a lot of humanitarian work among the Jesus Foundation. We have a lady named Grace. She accepted Christ. Her husband was Islamic, and he stole all of her possessions, including her sewing machine, which she made her living. So we had to rent an apartment for her, buy her beds and cooking materials and, chairs and things like that, a sewing machine. So today, Grace can have a good life because Jesus Foundation helps her. Another lady named Amina. Amina accepted Christ, and her husband beat her 3 times. So we had to move Amina to a safe place, and today she's proclaiming the gospel herself. We have a new orphanage called Among the Bulawa, Bulawa people group, and my evangelist showed me pictures. The 34 kids had lost all their parents because of the terrorists. They had no clothes, they had no shoes, they really had almost nothing. So 4 ladies in a very poor area had taken these children into their homes. And so we purchased clothes, we purchased underwear, we purchased shoes, we purchased soaps and towels and cloths and food to help these orphan children. Think about this. How would you like having no clothes on? How would you like having no shoes on? How would you like being hungry all the time? But through Jesus Foundation, we are able to minister in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, help them. And I could tell you many, many stories, but I would like to ask you to consider helping us just a little bit. Today, if you were to go to McDonald's, and probably the family of four would spend about $35 to $40, would you consider maybe possibly just foregoing going to McDonald's or going to Chick-fil-A once a month to help our orphans' kids? Our budget needs are about $45,000 a year. And I've been able to handle most of that. But this last year has really become very difficult to do everything we need to do. So I would prayerfully ask you to consider helping Jesus Foundation. We have a link through Zeffy. Thank goodness for Zeffy. There's no fee. 100% of the money would go to the Jesus Foundation. And I can promise you that every cent that you sent will be sent for ministry. We will never take any administrative fees if you send money to Jesus Foundation. God bless you, and thank you for listening today.